What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another Overwatch League discussion video. Today I just wanted to spend some time talking about the NYXL and how impressive they were in their playoff run. But before I do, I just wanted to apologize to the team for being so hard on them. I firmly believed that they would not win a single playoff game. I was fully embracing that playoff choker label. I had zero confidence in them, but they proved me wrong big time. I apologize to New York and their fans for not giving them a chance. I regret giving up on them, I'll say it right now. But anyway, let's have a talk about why we should all respect the NYXL after what they accomplished in the 2019 playoffs. So first off, as I said before, I firmly thought they would not win a single playoff game, and I know for a fact I'm not alone there. Many other fans and analysts alike shared a very similar viewpoint to mine on the matter. I would say a good majority of fans did not believe in New York and that they would get far at all, really. But that would end up working to their advantage. Some teams tend to really pop off when others doubt them and what they're capable of, and New York is clearly one of those teams. They probably weren't feeling much pressure since they weren't the favorites to win it all like in 2018. Not only that, but I think that motivation to remove the playoff choker label pushed them to the next level. They were sick and tired of being made fun of and getting disrespected, so they did something about it. They came into the playoffs with a plan and total confidence, and it worked wonders. But other than their mentality, I think the NYXL ended up being pretty solid in the current meta. I came into the playoffs with the assumption that New York would fail since they tend to invest a lot in playing around Jonek. With him playing a lot more Moira than anything else, I kind of expected them to crumble like how they did in the 2018 playoffs against the Fusion, since Jonek was forced to play things like Hog and Tracer back then. Plus, his Moira had never really impressed me up until this point. But I have to say that New York did an excellent job of adjusting and playing more around their DPS, and Jonek did well with embracing his role as a secondary playmaker instead of a main playmaker. Libero ended up being quite a good Doomfist player, and I can't say I'm all that surprised since it's Libero. The man has always been a flex god since the beginning of his Overwatch League career, basically. It's nothing new. But the big takeaway was obviously Sabiobi. Reincorporating him back into the starting lineup did a lot for this team. Not only did he show some hard carry moments on the Reaper, but the team seemed to do a really good job of playing around his Bastion too. I'm actually really happy that the NYXL decided to play him over the likes of Flower and Nene. Sabiobi, in my opinion, has always been the most clutch player on this roster, so it makes a lot of sense to start him in any sort of playoff scenario, in my opinion at least. Plus, his leadership is irreplaceable. He is such a positive influence. The man is a great teammate. There are very few players in this league who are at his level in that department. Who else do you know who gets up out of his chair to give his boys a pat on the back or some sort of other positive gesture for a job well done? He constantly is giving everybody words of encouragement, and it's really inspiring. SBB, in my opinion, single-handedly raised the morale of his team throughout the entirety of their playoff run. Another bright spot on the NYXL, I think, was definitely Mecco. I've mentioned it before here on the channel, but there's been stages where he's been pretty quiet this year. The majority of Stage 4 in particular is where he really seemed to struggle, so coming into the playoffs, I really didn't know what to expect from him, but he too contributed to the common theme of stepping up the moment there was doubt from fans. I didn't know what to think if he was going to be the one to play Sigma, but it's safe to say that he shattered all expectations I had for him. His Sigma was very consistent. You could definitely make the argument that he was a top 5 Sigma bare minimum. While his damage stats may not jump out at you like some of the other Sigma players we've seen, it's clear that New York used Mecco as their opener a lot of times to secure kills. If Mecco landed a Secretion, then the NYXL's teamfight win percentage just tended to skyrocket for some reason. They did a really good job of capitalizing on those stuns. Mecco was a key piece in New York's run, and I think it's safe to say that he should without a doubt be considered a top off tank in the league once again. I have to give credit where it's due to the NYXL players for stepping up and showing a great understanding of the meta when I had little faith that they would be able to adjust. There were very few flaws with the Reaper Doomfist comps. Other than Sabiobi and some of his questionable uses of Death Blossom, the only other noticeable weakness in my opinion was surprisingly Mono. The man was widely regarded as a top 3 main tank for a long period of time this season. Even when the NYXL struggled, he seemed to shine. But his Orisa has always been a really weak part of his game, and my fear for how effective he could be on her ended up being rational. In Stage 4, he didn't look too hot on her, and that continued throughout the playoffs really for the most part. The casters brought it up multiple times, I'm pretty sure, but I thought I would reiterate the fact that he does not have a lot of good supercharger usages. He seemed to lack the understanding that many other Orisa players in the playoffs possessed. I often found Mono placing his superchargers in the middle of the open, which is obviously not the play. Placing them around corners and behind cover when it's available to you is something that really helps maximize the value of that ability, but Mono was not doing that nearly enough, which comes as a big surprise to me personally because Mono is usually a very smart and consistent player, so seeing him have these mental lapses was really strange. But other than Mono and a few things from Sabiobi, the NYXL were looking pretty clean. Libero and SBB in particular were crazy clutch. It gave me flashbacks to the old days when they dominated in Season 1 on Tracer and Genji. Watching them single-handedly turn around fights by getting a pick on the Doomfist and or Reaper was incredible, but more than anything else, the NYXL's Bastion comps are what enabled them to find so much success. I mentioned it earlier, but once again I thought I'd bring up that New York did a really good job of playing around SBB when they ran Bastion. Jonex Baptiste in particular proved to be very useful when running those Bastion comps, and he definitely exceeded my expectations on that hero by a good margin, so shout out to Jonex for proving that he too can play just about anything like the other top flex supports in the league. Libero's Pharah also proved to be quite a valuable asset in these situations. Having a Pharah terrorize you in the sky while SBB and the fortress surrounding him dominated you on the ground proved to be a super effective strategy. If you choose to focus on Libero, then say Biobi's going to take over pretty easily, and vice versa. Plus, Bastion has insanely good shield break, which is obviously pretty useful in a double barrier meta. Shout out to the NYXL for realizing all of this. Their understanding of how to find success using Bastion was next level, and in my opinion, they were probably a top 2 Bastion team in the playoffs. It really seemed to give some of the opposition a lot of trouble. London and Atlanta in particular had a hard time adjusting and countering it all. New York used a lot more Bastion than anybody else in the playoffs from what I've seen, and that unique style alone is a big reason why they lasted for so long. Although they would come up short, I'm super proud of the NYXL for making it as far as they did. They accomplished so much when nobody really thought they would. They started off this tournament by thoroughly crushing the London Spitfire. I mean, it was total annihilation. London had no idea how to deal with the Bastion comps. Then they followed up by taking down the Atlanta Reign, who were considered to be a title contender, especially after their first round win over the Shock. Taking down a super scary Reign team in 6 maps was quite impressive, and at this point, New York was officially on the map again, and I don't think there was a single soul who didn't take them seriously at this point. I mean, how could you? They weren't choking in the playoffs, and they showed a good understanding of the new meta. And although they would then lose to the Vancouver Titans in the winners finals, they put up one hell of a fight. Taking the grand finals bound Vancouver Titans to a map 7 is something we should not overlook. Then unfortunately for the NYXL, their finals run would come to a screaming halt when they had the fate of taking on the Shock in the losers finals, who had not dropped a single map since their loss to Atlanta. They straight up got smacked around, but I think it's okay. The Shock were definitely favored in that match because of the level of dominance they had been showing throughout the losers bracket. So sure, the New York Excelsior did not make the grand finals, but I would say a top 3 finish in the overall playoffs is still pretty good. New York blew away expectations while making a good playoff run in the process. I have nothing but praise for them. After only winning 1 playoff game in stages 1 through 3 since their embarrassing loss to the Fusion in 2018, the NYXL won 2 playoff matches, finished the postseason in 3rd place, and were just 1 map away from making it to the grand finals. The fact that they didn't choke in the playoffs for once is impressive enough on its own. They got so far when nobody thought they would. I personally had New York as my favorites to win it all coming into the year. I really thought that the addition of Nene and Flower would take them over the top, and while they did come up a little short, I have to say that top 3 is still pretty good. Not too bad for a team that originally had high expectations coming into the 2019 season. In the grand scheme of things, they delivered in my book. Experts thought they would be title contenders, and they were. There were a lot of ups and downs this year, but I would say the NYXL had a fairly successful 2019. The big goal for them, obviously other than winning the 2019 championship, was to remove that playoff choker label they had, and they eventually did. Stages 1 and 3 made it tough for them, and I'm sure it really hurt having to listen to everybody roast them for even more playoff shortcomings, but they persevered through it all, and that's quite admirable. Plus, I think they still had a pretty decent regular season, even though they didn't do well in the stage playoffs. They had 2 undefeated stages, 3 stage playoff appearances, an Atlantic Division crown, and a 3rd place finish in the overall playoffs to top it off. There was a lot of noise they had to tune out because of the regular season, but they toughed it out while proving all of their doubters wrong. I'm so proud of the NYXL. After the stage 3 playoffs, I kind of wanted to give up on them, and they made me regret it. Even if they failed to win Season 2, I think it's important that we all give these guys a bit more respect. We can't say they're chokers anymore. It's time to once again take them seriously. It's been a roller coaster of a ride, New York, but you and your fans should feel very satisfied. You went from title contenders to chokers to title contenders once again. I am so proud of them for overcoming all of that adversity while re-earning the respect of fans and experts worldwide. I don't know what the future holds for the NYXL coming into 2020, but one thing I'm certain of is that they will be stronger, confident, and more motivated than ever. The NYXL ended this year on a great note, and I could not be more excited to see where they go from here. And with that being said, that is going to wrap up my video on why we should all respect the NYXL. What are your thoughts on New York after seeing them do so well in the playoffs? Make sure to let me know down in the comment section, and if you enjoyed this content, then be sure to like and subscribe. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.